On the morning of June 6, 1944, 24-year-old Private Vinton W. Dove stood at the edge of history. An unassuming man from Virginia with a background in construction and just 2 months of bulldozer training under his belt, Dove had no prior combat experience, but he did possess something rare, the ability to operate a Caterpillar D8 bulldozer, one that had been armored and welded with steel plating, transforming a construction machine into a battlefield asset. His mission as part of Company C, 37th Engineer Combat Battalion, was clear and nearly suicidal: clear the way through Omaha Beach under enemy fire. The odds were stacked against him. His commanding officer warned that survival was unlikely. Less than 20% of operators were expected to make it out alive. Still, Dove boarded Landing Craft Infantry 553 at 0400, crammed into a hold with 47 other engineers, many equipped with Bangalore torpedoes and mine detectors. The seas were rough and nerves were tighter. The swell tossed the craft, men vomited into helmets. By 0715, an 88mm German shell ripped through the hull, instantly killing 11 engineers. Dove survived the blast, but chaos followed. Another shell landed in the surf and the ramp dropped at 0728. Dove drove his dozer into the waves. Through smoke and confusion, machine gun tracers zipped through the air. The fifth wave of American soldiers was being mowed down. Dove drove blindly, steering by memory and instinct toward the shingle bank, a wall of stones the Germans used to trap the invaders. Omaha Beach was a bloodbath. Exit Easy one of the few planned routes off the beach, had been fortified by the German 352nd Infantry Division. 17 machine gun nests, 4 anti-tank guns, and deadly pre-registered mortar fire made it a death trap. The Army's plan had collapsed. Bombers missed their targets, naval shelling had been brief and ineffective, and the specialized Sherman tanks designed to swim ashore had mostly sunk. By 0800, the 37th Engineers had suffered heavy losses. Company A was stalled, Company B was pinned. Company C, Dove's unit, had lost a third of its men before reaching dry sand. But Dove kept moving. He reached the shingle bank at 7:42. The tide was rising. The dead floated beside him. Engineers were dying at the waterline. Other bulldozer operators had already been killed, their machines burning or abandoned. Yet Dove stayed in his seat. He began to dig. The German machine gunners understood what the bulldozer meant. It was the key to mobility. Dove became their priority target. Bullets ricocheted off his blade. He couldn't see much, couldn't raise the blade without exposing himself or lower it without losing visibility. So he held it at chest height and drove blind. Inch by inch, he pushed through the stones. At 0800, he created the first breach in the shingle, a small but vital gap. German mortars began adjusting toward his position. He had maybe 30 seconds before a barrage landed. He reversed, angled left, and pushed forward again, cutting into the stones at 45 degrees. Another load of shingle moved. The gap widened, wide enough for a jeep, still too narrow for trucks or tanks. Then came Shoemaker, Private William J. Shoemaker, his relief operator sprinting across the open sand, dodging machine gun fire. They switched positions. The bulldozer kept working. The two men took turns at the controls, widening the gap in shifts. But the beach still wasn't open. Behind the shingle lay the real obstacle, a 9-foot-deep anti-tank ditch. Shoemaker drove forward, dug the blade into the ditch, reversed, and dumped sand and debris. One blade load at a time, hundreds would be needed. Then a burst of gunfire sheared the right track. The bulldozer died, stuck half in the ditch. Shoemaker tried to restart it. Nothing. It was now 8:53. Dove made his choice. He sprinted across 100 yards of exposed sand, dodging bullets and mortar blasts to reach the broken dozer. Under fire, he drained the flooded air intake, cleared water from the filter, and manually worked the track back into place. Shoemaker got the engine running. The dozer lurched forward again. Together, they continued to fill the ditch, blade after blade, hour after hour. General Omar Bradley, aboard the USS Augusta offshore, watched through binoculars. He saw the chaos. He saw the dead piling up. He seriously considered ordering an evacuation of Omaha Beach. Then he saw the bulldozer, saw the breach, saw two men switching positions under fire. Bradley did not order the evacuation. Around 0942, a German 105mm shell struck 30 feet from the bulldozer. The hydraulic system failed. The blade locked. The dozer was finished. But the gap was open. The ditch was half filled. More engineers arrived. Company C of the 149th Engineer Battalion mistakenly landed in Dove's sector, brought two more dozers. They picked up where Dove left off. At 10:32, a Sherman tank rolled through exit Easy One. Trucks followed, jeeps, ambulances. By noon, over 3,000 vehicles had used the exit. The invasion had found its footing. Omaha Beach was no longer a trap. Dove, exhausted, sat beside the broken bulldozer. He had been under fire for 3 hours and 26 minutes. 24 men from his battalion were dead. His commanding officer was dead. Of the 48 engineers on LCY 553, only 31 survived the day. Word of Dove's actions spread quickly. General Bradley demanded the names of the two bulldozer operators. He recommended Dove and Shoemaker for the Medal of Honor. The paperwork went up the chain. It reached General Eisenhower. He downgraded the recommendation to Distinguished Service Crosses, no reason given. Dove never complained. He never talked much about that day. He continued serving. He was wounded twice more, once in France, once in Germany, but neither injury was serious. He returned home to Virginia after the war, raised a family, operated bulldozers for 38 years, and never joined a veterans group, never attended a parade, never marched for recognition. He said the heroes were still on the beach. In 2003, at age 83, Dove attended a ceremony at the Engineer Museum at Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. He donated his uniform and his medal. The museum displayed them, salt-stained, bullet-scarred, silent artifacts of an impossible mission. The director called it the most important D-Day artifact in the collection. Dove said little during the ceremony. His son spoke for him, noting that his father never saw himself as a hero, only as a man who did the job assigned to him. Dove died 3 months later. After his death, more details emerged. A military researcher studying survival rates found that Dove's position had been under fire for over 3 hours and targeted with more than 20,000 rounds. The survival probability was calculated at less than 0.003%. The other 5 bulldozer operators on Omaha Beach had died within 90 minutes. Dove and Shoemaker survived. The data was inexplicable. Some called it luck. Some called it divine providence. Dove simply said the job had to be done. The bulldozer that had made the difference was later salvaged. A section of the blade was recovered and added to the museum, still pitted with bullet impacts, still stained, still telling a story. Today, a small plaque at Exit Easy One commemorates Dove and Shoemaker. Most tourists pass it by, unaware of what happened there, but the records remain. The engineers remember. The history is preserved. And in the archives of the U.S. Army War College, a classified study concludes with a line that defies explanation. What happened at Exit Easy One on June 6, 1944 should not have been possible, but it was. Because one man from Virginia knew how to operate a bulldozer and refused to quit.